This is the anthem. Here's what you came for.
Welcome to the Disney Beat, a podcast brought to you by the DisInsider.com. My name is Sean Nyberg, and I will be covering all of the Disney headlines to keep you informed as you start your week.
Happening right now.
Hello there, this is Sean Nyberg, and this podcast is being recorded on the evening of Sunday, January 3rd, 2021. All right, let's dive into the news. That sounded really weird to say, 2021. So I just want to start off by wishing everyone a happy new year. I hope you celebrated safely and you got to enjoy yourself. For me, so after 6 years in a row of throwing these huge, sober New Year's parties, that it brought over 200 guests to my buddy's lake house outside of Seattle, Washington. This year, I had to forgo the party and postpone it for next year. I stayed home with my fiance Paul, and we rewatched the Indiana Jones movies. It was safe, it was far less stressful than the parties, and obviously significantly cheaper. However, I do miss the New Year's event, and I look forward to hosting it again next year. But yeah, it was a lot more calm for me, and I hope it was for everyone else. I hope everyone stayed safe so we can enjoy 2021. But yep, that was my New Year's, and now let's talk Disney. A new year brings a new month, and a new month brings a new wave of content to Disney's streaming services. Let's look at some of the highlights coming to both Disney Plus and Hulu for January 2021. First, Disney Plus. The biggest story this month will be WandaVision. It's the Marvel Studios series premiering Friday, January 15th. This one was announced earlier and has been anticipated for months. We've seen multiple trailers and posters and are all ready to dive into this series. The Jim Henson Company's faux talk show, Earth to Ned, will also be releasing new episodes this month. Pixar Studios will be releasing Pixar Popcorn on January 22nd. The early 90s hit Dinosaurs will be making their Disney Plus debut after a successful run over on Hulu. The Disney live-action Mary Poppins sequel, Mary Poppins Returns, starring Emily Blunt and Lin-Manuel Miranda, will also be coming to the streaming service in January. We will also get Star Wars Forms of Destiny, Volume 1 through 4, and obviously a number of special series and movies will be added every Friday along with these bigger announcements. Over on Hulu, we will see a large number of primarily more adult-themed content, reality series such as The Bachelor Season 25, Gordon Ramsay's American Road Trip, Vanderpump Rules Season 8, Celebrity Wheel of Fortune, and House Hunters will be made available along with a large number of movies, a huge long list, which will expand Hulu's back catalog. This includes the Austin Powers films, Boogie Nights, Cloverfield, Dead Poets Society, Donnie Brasco, Footloose, Hot Shots, the Look Who's Talking films, which I'm very excited for, Night at the Museum, The Princess Bride, Selena, The Truman Show, and Frozen. So Frozen for the month of January will be available both on Disney Plus and on Hulu. Guess they're just trying to give I don't know. It's always ranked really well on Disney Plus's top 10 most watched shows every week. And so, kind of dipping in and out every week. So maybe they're just trying to get some more family-friendly stuff over on Hulu. So, yep, Frozen will be... actually, since it's January 3rd, Frozen is, I believe it's already there. So this is just a sampling of what is to come for both these streaming services. But you can go over to the DisInsider.com. I wrote a post showing all the new shows and series and specials coming to Disney Plus, all of the ones that are coming to Hulu, and also I did a list of stuff that's leaving Hulu because nothing's leaving Disney Plus right now. But Hulu has these these month-to-month contracts with some of the shows, and so you can get a full list of what's new this month and on both those services, and also what's leaving Hulu. With the new year, we also have a new list of movies that are expected to be released in theaters this upcoming year, something that we were not sure if we were going to be able to say. With Disney releasing films under Walt Disney Pictures, Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, 20th Century Studios, and Searchlight Studios, just to name a few, they have a number of noteworthy films expected to be released in 2021. So, with the caveat that I always do here at the Disney Beat, that any release date that is announced now is subject to change, but they're pretty set here. So this, so the movies that, here's just a list of some of the bigger name movies coming up. So Nomadland, it's called Nomadland. It's coming February 19th. This is gonna star Frances McDormand. Raya and the Last Dragon is coming March 5th. It'll be released concurrently with the Disney Plus Premier Access release. So they're going to do, with Mulan, when they released it on Disney Plus, there was an extra fee on top of the subscription. So they're going to do that again with this film. At the same time, they're going to release it in theaters that are open. So, it's a big release that Disney's planned. It's not exactly a princess film, but it's in that genre. So I think they want to get it in theaters for people who are in areas that it's safe to go. So it'll be concurrently released on March 5th in theaters and Disney Plus Premier Access. The Kingsman coming March 12th. Bob's Burgers, the series, the Fox series. They've made a movie, feature-length film that is coming to theaters April 9th. A movie called Ron's Gone Wrong. Say that 10 times fast. Ron's Gone Wrong is coming April 23rd. The highly anticipated... let's try that again. So wait. Ron's Gone Wrong I can say, but I can't say the highly anticipated. Let's try that one more time. The highly anticipated Marvel release Black Widow is coming on May 7th. 2 days after my birthday. So, my birthday's May 5th, so everyone can start shopping right now. I'm not that hard to shop for. Cash is great. The movie Free Guy, starring Ryan Reynolds, is coming May 21st to theaters. Cruella, which is the live action prequel to 101 Dalmatians, that is coming on May 28th. Luca, which is the next film from Disney Pixar. This last year we got Onward and we got Soul, and the next film was Luca, and that is coming to theaters June 18th. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is a Marvel Studios film that is coming on July 9th. The much delayed, due to COVID, film Jungle Cruise, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Emily Blunt, they're coming on... the movie's coming July 30th to theaters. So this film was supposed to be released last summer. It was going to be Disney's big kind of blockbuster popcorn film. It's like Pirates of the Caribbean in the sense that it's based off of it's one of those things where it's a movie based off of a ride, where the way it typically goes is that they open a ride based on a movie franchise. And so this is like Pirates, where the ride, the Jungle Cruise, has been around actually since opening day of Disneyland in 1955. And so they've made this movie based on the kind of premise of the Jungle Cruise. Again, it's supposed to come out last summer. It's going to be coming out this summer, July 30th, with The Rock and Emily Blunt. I know Disney's really hoping that this is going to kind of take off like the Pirates of the Caribbean series did, and not kind of flounder, one might say, like the Haunted Mansion film with Eddie Murphy. A movie called Deep Water featuring Ben Affleck is coming August 13th. The documentary called Beatles, The Get Back, directed by Lord of the Rings director Peter Jackson, is coming August 27th. We got a 5-minute preview of that about a week ago over on Disney Plus, and it looks amazing. It looks amazing to anyone, but especially if you're a Beatles fan. I'm so used to saying a Disney fan. Especially if you're a Beatles fan, it's going to be just fabulous. Comes out the end of August with previously unseen footage of the Beatles behind the scenes, which is amazing to think, like, after all these decades, there's still unseen footage. But yep, coming out August 27th. Death on the Nile, starring Gal Gadot, is coming out September 17th. The Last Duel, and this one again, another Ben Affleck film. The Last Duel, starring Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and Adam Driver, is coming out October 15th. So we got Ben Affleck and Matt Damon together again since Good Will Hunting, and Adam Driver from Girls and The Marriage Story, and the sequel what do they call it? The sequel trilogy of the Star Wars films. Adam Driver. We all love Adam Driver. He's amazing. That's coming out October 15th. The much anticipated Marvel release Eternals is coming out November 5th, which is my father's birthday. So we're, after you get my gift and after May goes around, you can get my dad his November 5th gift. Eternals. This is a very heavily Marveled year for the Disney company, between Disney Plus and movies in theaters. And this one is actually going to be one that is going to be separate from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So if you're not kind of following the other ones and tying them all together, this one will stand alone. So it'll be really fun to see how this one turns out and how well it does in the theaters. Since sometimes people feel like, oh, well, I haven't watched the other films, I may not get all of the, from the next one in the group, but this one's going to be separate. So November 5th, Walt Disney Animation's 60th feature film, Encanto, is coming November 24th. That is their 60th feature. Their first feature film was in 1937, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and their 60th feature film, Encanto, animated obviously, and it takes place in Italy, and it's coming November 24th. West Side Story, which is directed by Steven Spielberg, that'll be coming December 10th. West Side Story, obviously, it was a Broadway musical with lyrics written by Stephen Sondheim. They've made a movie adaptation of it. It's been adapted a million times in different ways. And so this is like the most, obviously it's going to be the most current, but it's going to be, it was supposed to come out earlier, I believe. Again, all these are pushed back due to COVID, but directed by Steven Spielberg. It should be a pretty big release, December 10th. And there's an untitled live action film set to be released on December 17th from the Disney company. They have yet to announce which project this is, but seeing that it is a coveted release date, December 17th is a big release date. Obviously, you get the holiday crowds, and it makes it in just underneath the cutoff for award seasons, which is, January 1st. So December 31st is like the last day of release to get in for the Oscars and Golden Globes. So seeing that it's like one of the most coveted release spots is we're really interested to see what film Disney's going to put there. I could list a bunch of possibilities that are films being produced right now that it could be, but I would just be mindlessly speculating and just throwing up films that I know are being produced. So once we know what film's going to take that slot, we'll obviously make a big announcement for it. I really hope it's the Little Mermaid live action remake, but I really think that is going to stick to its 2022 release year. So let's just hope we can get through the peak of this pandemic so we can get back to enjoying movies in the movie theaters once again, secretly shoveling popcorn in our mouth in the darkness, just like God intended. So speaking of big hits, the aforementioned Marvel Studios Eternals gave us some news this past week. They released their character breakdowns for the upcoming film. This includes the characters Icarus, Circe, Ajax, Phastos, Makari, Druig, Gilgamesh, Thena, and Kingo. You can read each of these character breakdowns over at the DisInsider.com. It's a really great post. It's been really popular on the website. So go over there and check it out. They have a little paragraph for each of those characters breaking down each of them. So sticking with Marvel, sticking with Marvel. That's what I say, like if I'm getting my kitchen redone. Sticking with Marvel. In some vague Marvel news, it was reported recently that the actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt recently met with one of Marvel's creative executives. No further details are known, but with the busiest years ahead for Marvel Studios, I wouldn't be surprised to hear that Joseph Gordon-Levitt snagged one of the many acting roles that will become available this year, with all these films and series and specials being produced. I wouldn't be surprised to see him. He's like a perfect age and a perfect look for a lot of these movies. The Disney-owned ABC, so remember Disney owns ABC. The Disney-owned ABC dominated the TV ratings this year for their New Year's coverage. Their ratings were equal to last year's ratings, with all the other major networks saw a dip. So ABC held strong. They didn't grow, but they held strong, and all the other networks dipped from their the coverage a year prior. So ABC's Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest featured performances by Jennifer Lopez, Cyndi Lauper, and Billy Porter. This special beat out specials on both NBC and Fox, and it also outperformed CBS for the evening. CBS decided to sit out of the New Year's special, and they just simply aired reruns. So, good for ABC. They beat everyone out. As we reported last month, the Walt Disney World will be pushing so this is Parks News. As we report, the Walt Disney World will be pushing two of their big projects off of their 2021 release schedule and into 2022. The two projects, Tron Light Cycle Power Run, which is it's a roller coaster, but with Disney, it's never just a roller coaster, but it's a roller coaster type attraction in Magic Kingdom's Tomorrowland over by Space Mountain, and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, which I guess is also like a roller coaster, but it's a lot different. The seats pivot so they can show you certain show scenes. It's very immersive and very much more complicated than just a roller coaster. That's going to be coming over to Epcot. They will be finishing up the exterior construction for both these projects to make it look nice from the outside, right? So when people are visiting these parks and they see these projects, they don't just see like half painted walls or cranes just sitting around. They're going to make it look really nice from the outside, but they will be pausing on all of the interior work until the end of the year. This is due to the cost cutting associated with the COVID-19 pandemic fallout. So the most obvious way to save money for a company is to cut upcoming projects, right? And Disney has done this with some longer planned additions. They just cut them out of the budget and they're just not going to be made. Of course, Disney doesn't say that. They say that they are being, I don't forget the word, but it's always, they're going to be looked at later, right? They never say canceled, but some have been canceled. So the other way for them to save money is to stretch out the cost of current projects over a longer period of time. So if you think about it, instead of spending $100 million on a project in 1 year, they can spread that out and have it only cost $33 million a year over 3 years. And that really helps to bring some much needed relief in the current fiscal year, right? The same thing happened with the extension of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway in Disneyland's Toontown. They shoved that opening date out to 2023 for that same reason, right? It's funny because they announced a later opening date, but they really got to work on the exterior construction over in Disneyland in Anaheim. But what they'll do is then they'll start slowing stuff down, right? So, because when the parks were doing great a year ago, like right now, 1 year ago, they were doing great, and they could, the income was so high that they could afford these projects all being worked on at the same time and being done in a short period. But because there's so little income coming in due to parks still being closed, half their parks are still closed right now. They have to spread these projects out. Which, obviously I would prefer if they just kept everything on schedule and kept building new and fun stuff and enhancing everything. But I would rather them, spread push openings out as a accounting trick than canceling things altogether. So, so there you go. Also out in Walt Disney World, this is kind of a funny little addition to the Disney beat because we don't hear much about this part of the parks. But out in Walt Disney World, the company introduced us to their new robo-carts. What does that mean? Well, these are autonomous moving golf carts for the Walt Disney World Resort golf courses. So you may not realize it because if you don't golf or if you don't, visit Walt Disney World for that reason, but there are a number of golf courses in the Walt Disney World Resort. And so today, actually, when I'm filming this, recording this, on Sunday, they announced that they have these new autonomous moving golf carts. So what happens is the golfer will attach a transmitter to their belt or whatever on their body, and the motorized golf cart follows the golfer, just always remaining a few paces behind while they walk the entire time. So this is, when you think golf cart, I know we think sitting in a golf cart, that's one way, right? Then there's the hand cart where you're walking the round and you're pulling the cart on like a little hand truck. So this will be similar to that, but instead of pulling it, it just follows you. Think of like a golf cart on a Segway. Remember those scooters, Segway scooters? That's kind of what this is. So as a golfer, I must admit, I think this is a great addition. I golf and I think this is fabulous. The idea has been around for a year or two. I actually know some people who own one privately, have their own golf cart like this. So I think it's great. I think having it available to rent for only $10 around at Walt Disney World is pretty awesome. And I have seen a lot of people on Twitter claiming that these little motorized golf carts show how lazy people are. And I must point out that the golfer is still walking the entire 18 holes. While walking around is not running a marathon, it is still much more exercise than an average American gets in a day. Disney also announced that the carts come with a GPS tracking to ensure that the cart and your clubs does not find itself driving into a pond or a sand trap. Now, if only they could ensure that I wouldn't drive my ball into a pond or sand trap. That would be something. Definitely worth $10. So, yep, that's going to be available at the Walt Disney World golf courses. So, check that out if you are so inclined. Since the Disney Pixar film Soul was released on Disney Plus back on Christmas Day, domestically, so it was released on Disney Plus domestically and in most of the Western countries. They didn't release it in theaters, just simply on Disney Plus. And because of that, we did not get a clear idea of how well it has done in terms of viewership. However, the film was released in theaters over in China and it is doing great business over there. The opening week brought in $5.5 million, which is roughly twice what Onward brought in earlier last year. Onward was Disney Pixar's other release that came out back in March. Granted, I would say since the COVID-19 pandemic was really in its early, very scary phase, especially out in China in November and March, that definitely probably affected Onward. I'm not saying that it's any less scary right now. In fact, it's doing a lot more damage now. But early on, there was a lot of, we still don't know a lot, obviously, but we know a lot more than we did then. So my whole point is, Soul has brought in a lot, more than Onward did. At 5.5 million this last week, or the first week, sorry. The second week for Soul brought in 14 million due to strong word of mouth, which you don't typically see, right? A lot of times you almost always see a spike in the first week of ticket sales, and then it kind of, it peters off, right? And you normally track how big of a drop it has in its second and third week to determine if it has a lot of legs that's going to stick around for a while and make a lot of money. The fact that this one actually didn't just drop, it actually increased, is a really good sign. And the total now for Soul is sitting around $25 million and is tracking to break $50 million for its total run in China. If the film were to surpass Incredibles 2's $54 million, it would become Disney Pixar's second highest grossing film in China, behind Coco. This is very strange if you have not followed this. The record held by Coco is insane. It is such an anomaly that it will likely never be touched. In 2017, Disney Pixar's Coco surpassed $180 million alone in China. That total was equal to, at the time, to every other Pixar release previously combined. So a solid second place or even third place finish for Soul would be considered a huge hit. While China has been handling the pandemic better in the United States in recent weeks, it still has kept some from the theaters. So, good for those, good for Disney and Pixar and everyone involved. At the end of last week, Walt Disney Company hit another milestone, breaking $180 a share for the first time in the company's history in the U.S. stock market. It peaked at $183.40 in trading at the end of last week. It set an all-time high for the company's stock. The news is hard to hear for many Disney employees and friends of those employees who have been laid off recently. But remember, the layoff and cost-cutting decisions are based on past performance of the company. And in this case, that has been riddled with setbacks at the box office, theme parks, and cruise lines due to COVID-19. The stock price is based on investors' view of the company's future, with jaw-dropping subscriber counts for their streaming services at Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus, along with research that indicates a strong push for theme parks and cruises once the pandemic is under control. This gives investors a great deal of hope for a very bright future for the Disney company. We all hope this includes the rehiring of any cast member, which is Disney Parks parlance for employee, who wants to return, and also allows for expanding roles to allow even more employment opportunities. So that's our hope. And, as long as we can get through this next push with the vaccine and everything, and we all continue to wear masks and properly socially distance, we'll be there soon. Speaking of cast members, we here at the DisInsider have made Disney theme park cast members our Person of the Year for 2020. I drafted a long article highlighting the history and the importance of Disney's original frontline workers. The rides, restaurants, and shops at the Disney parks provide the outline for these iconic theme parks, right? They're like they're like if you open up a coloring book and you just see the black and white outlines. That's what in my view, that's what the parks, their rides and their shops and their restaurants, that's what they provide, right? The outline. But it is truly the cast members that color in these pictures and provide the beautiful picture. Cast members provide the magic, the attention, and the memories that are so synonymous with the Disney company. Thousands of cast members have lost their dream job, and the blow is devastating to both their financial well-being and their emotional health. Thousands more Disney cast members are furloughed, which means they're not laid off. They still have a job, but they're not receiving an income, but some of their benefits and health insurance and stuff is still being covered. But they are still without any income, and while they do hope to be rehired soon, these cast members know they haven't lost their job yet, and they're experiencing daily anxiety waiting to hear if they're going to be brought back to work or if they're going to be officially laid off, right? So it's one of those things where once they know that Disney for some reason hasn't laid them off yet, so they're hoping that the phone call they get is going to be asking them to come back. But at the same time, they know that it could be a phone call saying that they're going to be laid off. So there's these cast members who've been laid off. There are these cast members who are kind of being held in limbo right now. And finally, the cast members that are still working in the parks that are open at limited capacity, they're putting themselves out there and bringing magic and order to a public that so desperately needs it. But their health is at risk as they interact with the public, and due to circumstances outside of their control, they've had to add enforcement agent to their job title as guests push the boundaries by disobeying clear mask and social distancing requirements. So, not only do you have these laid off workers and these furloughed workers, but you also have these cast members who still have their job, but now they have to, first of all, they're exposing themselves to the public, so there's a risk there. Then they also are having to kind of be enforcement agents to make sure that us as guests are following the very clear and simple guidelines of keeping our masks on, keeping socially distance, and to, like if we eat, stand still, not walk around, stuff like that. And us as guests don't always make this easy. And so, even for the ones that are working and are still getting a paycheck, it's not easy, and it's very dangerous still out there, very dangerous, if not more dangerous now than ever. So, really wherever you fall in that list is horrible. So we just want to thank to all the current, former, and furloughed cast members, all of us here at the DisInsider and the Disney Beat podcast would like to give you a huge thank you. We made yesterday a generous donation to the cast member pantry, which provides food and services to struggling cast members. I encourage everyone to look them up on Facebook just by going to search on Facebook cast member pantry and making a donation to the Venmo account listed on that page. So go check that out. They are what makes the parks what they are, and they're the ones that bring the magic that separates it from, I'm nothing wrong with it, but like Six Flags, right? Like they just provide a different service. They provide more thrilling rides, and it's not quite as, doesn't have that magic. Even, and I know this could cause some problems, but even like Universal Studios, while they are, I think, a little bit more warm than Six Flags, it's just what separates Disney, and it's what makes them the leader. It's not the rides per se. It's not the just the restaurants or the shops. It's the cast members. So go check them out at the cast member pantry on Facebook if you would like, and you can make a donation or just go and see what they have to offer. Sadly, this week brought us some sad news regarding major players within the Disney company. The first was voice actor Tom Kane, who has worked on many Star Wars projects, including the most recent Lego Star Wars holiday series, where he voiced Yoda, and he also was the narrator. He also voiced Admiral Akbar in The Last Jedi. He also worked on Disney Channel's hit animated series, Kim Possible. We learned that Kane suffered a stroke back in November, and while he still is, quote, very much himself, a quote from his daughter, The stroke left him largely unable to speak. Our thoughts go out to Kane and his family, and we cannot even imagine what it must feel like to be a successful voice actor and then lose your ability to speak. It is very sad, and we wish him better health moving forward. The second bad news we got was a gentleman, Ron Dominguez, a Disney legend. He passed away this week at age 85. Dominguez grew up in Anaheim on the very land that Disneyland was built upon back when it was orange groves. His family home sat where Pirates of the Caribbean sits right now. After the family's house was moved, Dominguez went to work for the company, selling tickets for Disneyland in the days leading up to the big grand opening in 1955. He started working at Disneyland full-time and was promoted to supervisor of several areas of the parks over the years. He later became director of operations. Finally, in 1990, was named executive vice president of Walt Disney Attractions on the West Coast. He retired in 1994 and was inducted as a Disney legend in 2000. He has embodied the Disneyland park since before it even existed, and his spirit and energy will be missed. So that's the news we got this week. To wrap it up, I just want to say that last year was extremely tough for so many people around the world. We hope that this new year provides some relief at some point. I hope we can join together and get on the other side of this pandemic very soon. Like I said last week, I hope we don't get back to normal. I hope we get back to better. Clearly, what was normal doesn't work, and we need to be better moving forward. On behalf of myself and those of us here at the Disney Beat, along with the DisInsider, we wish everyone good health and prosperity. With that, I want to say thank you for listening. If you like the show, please rate and review it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever else you listen. These ratings really help the show find new listeners. I also ask that you share this podcast with friends and family members who love Disney. All stories can be found at thedisinsider.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the handle The DisInsider, or on Facebook by searching The DisInsider. You can follow me, your host, Sean Nyberg, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Sean Nyberg, SeanNyberg, all one word. I also co-host the Disney podcast Walt's Apartment that comes out every Thursday, and the Disney Parks themed podcast Extra Magic Hour, which is released every other Friday. So check those out. Thank you again for listening, and I will see you here again next week for another edition of the Disney Beat podcast. My name is Sean Nyberg. Have a fantastic week.